Tracy, this movie, over 10 years?
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's a thrill to get any movie made.
Any movie made, especially this one. The only people who would really back us were Netflix.
Yeah.
Really.
And we're proud of the fact that we're able to tell the full story without worrying
about interference and also total financial backing.
And the technology's quite
Technology's amazing.
Gotcha.
That's ILM, Pablo Hellman.
Have you extended De Niro's career another 30 years?
He would like to go another 30 years.
You and Pacino up on the screen, how does that go when you enter the scene, you and him going up against each other?
I have a great time with Al and Joe and everybody. I mean,
are you digging deep with him?
What?
Are you digging deep in this?
We're doing the scene. I don't know.
Are you proud of this? Yeah.
How was it working with Marty for the first time?
Marty was great. I mean, it was sort of what I expected in a way, because he is consummate. So he just makes you feel so much like you're an actor in a place and you're going to be taken care of. He takes care of you.
You didn't need any of that de-aging technology. Can
I
just
didn't
tell you that? No, you didn't need a second
I
of
was
it.
waiting for one person to say that. Finally.
Can you share what this experience was like working with this incredible ensemble?
Well, it was great getting together with this array of talent. It was good fun, good work.
What do you admire about Mr. Scorsese?
He's been a great friend, and his work has been informative to the country. He's made a difference in people's lives. Just simple things like that.
I agree. Thank you so much.
I can't believe that, like, stories from the movie are like, I remember reading those headlines. I remember Joey Gallo. I remember.
I'm a little younger than that, but I heard of it.
Lucky you.
But I heard of them, but seeing it come to life, it was just very compelling.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get involved with the movie?
Well, I did The Wolf of Wall Street with Martin Scorsese, and while we were wrapping up that, he invited me to come read through this new script that he was working on, and I thought, oh, what, like, lovely to be invited and, you know, do a favor, and that would be that. And it was this. And of course I showed up and there was Mr. Pacino, Mr. De Niro. I was like, where am I? And come 5 years later, the phone rang and they said, hey, would you be interested? And of course.
You clear your schedule. You cancel all the
I literally, I'm all yours all the time. Yeah.
Well, you're in so many scenes, obviously, the wives scenes and things like that. So tell me, what was a highlight for you?
Gosh, there were so many. I mean, one of the highlights of the whole experience for me was I spent a lot of time with Catherine Narducci, who plays Joe Pesci's wife, and was able to really have a great friendship with her and really get to know her. I call her the Dooch, Narducci, the Dooch. And I spent a lot of time together, you know, in the car with Bob and Joe, and listening to Bob and Joe tell stories to each other about, do you remember this from back in the day? And, you know, they've known each other for, decades. And so to sit there and just sort of be listening to these remarkable Hollywood legends talk about their lives was, you know, kind of a pinch me moment.
Both performances are so incredible. Were you like in awe just being there?
I was literally constantly in awe. And not only that, but I do remember on a couple of occasions just sort of sitting back and watching them work. And Joe Pesci terrified me. Like, his work on screen he's the nicest man in the world. He's literally terrifying in this movie. And I just kept thinking to myself, how does he do that? How does he get so far from himself? Yeah, it was. And of course, Bob is just, he's a master. It's an absolute master at what he does. So I was learning every single day.
Thank you so much for your time. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was nice to meet you.
Hello, how are you? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. How are you?
How did you first hear about the role?
I heard about the movie, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years before it was made, and I had mentioned to my agent, hey, you know, if they're ever casting this, would love to be a part of it. And then the opportunity came up. What's happening? How you doing? Nice to see you. What's going on? I went in to audition for the role, and I ended up getting another role, not that I auditioned for, but this Crazy Joe Gallo role. And I would have never thought I would have been a part of it. You know, I just put the feelers out there. This ended up happening, and every step of the way has kind of been really a surreal moment, including tonight.
And the movie, there's probably kind of a meta moment for you because you're in a birthday scene and there's a stand-up comic there. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, Jim Norton plays Don Rickles in the movie, and he did an excellent job. I was really, really impressed with how prepared he was when he came in. He had Don Rickles' jokes. He had pages and pages of jokes. So it was kind of nice to be on the other side of that, playing a serious role rather than the comedic relief. So I kind of like it. It's a nice departure from what I do for a living, which is stand-up comedy, to do these little pops and dramatic roles.
What was key for getting into the role for you?
For me, it was just kind of learning about the character, who he was, doing some research online, talking to a few people that kind of knew of him. I talked to David Steinberg, who is another comedian who was actually his best man in his wedding. So he gave me a couple personality traits. I tried to consume as much as I possibly could about the character and then go from there. I mean, there was not much online. I like body movements. I like to look on how somebody moves. So there's not a lot of video on it, but I kind of added my own take on it, and I hope I did a good job.
How was collaborating with Mr. Scorsese?
It was something special. The guy really knows, really sweet, really nice guy. Would yell cut and come out and tell you kind of adjustments or what he wanted, and I was like, this is fantastic. This guy's telling me what to do, what he wants. Hopefully I could deliver. For me, I just didn't want to disappoint. I was living in almost a fearful way rather than a confident way. I operate better if I'm afraid than confident. So if I'm confident, I think it's no good.
I don't want to give any spoilers, but you do have a very memorable scene with Mr. De Niro, and tell me about filming that and what that was like.
It's just great. I mean, Robert De Niro and I had a scene prior to that, so I was comfortable with him, and then the kind of climactic scene that happens with him and I is I couldn't have even written that better as far as what happens. I don't want to give it away, but it's something that I'm very proud of.
What was it like collaborating with his ensemble?
Oh, it's an incredible group of people, and it's a dream project to work on, and it's so exciting to be working back with Marty. I did Goodfellas almost 30 years ago now.
What was it like reuniting? Has anything changed about him as a filmmaker?
Gosh, that's a big question. Well, he's matured and he's come into his own, and he's such a sure hand, and he's at the top of his art form. It's an incredible honor to get to work with somebody like that.
What was it like watching Mr. Pacino transform into Mr. Hoffa?
Very intimidating, actually. If you saw the film, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, but Al is just such a person who's so full of joy that it was just a treat to be around him when he was working.
Do you have a favorite scene to film in this one, or a favorite highlight just from the set?
Well, I haven't seen the film yet, but working on it, one of my favorite scenes to shoot was the big, the appreciation night scene with the big, huge party scene with 500 extras and all. Yes, and it was super fun to do because we were all together for about a week to shoot that, and it's just a special experience when you have an entire cast of such a big epic film together for that kind of time. So I would say that was my favorite one to do.
Inspired by true events, did you do any research or anything to sort of about it?
I did a lot of research. I looked at old footage. I read as many biographies as I could find that mentioned his wife Josephine Hoffa, and looks at a lot of old photographs and tapes. And I wasn't able to speak directly with anybody.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Enjoy the premiere.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you.
So tell me about Netflix supporting this project and collaborating with Mr. Scorsese.
Well, this has been about a 12-year journey for Marty and Bob and everybody, and we've been in for about 3 years of it, 3.5 years of it since our first meeting, and it's just been remarkable to have a film that almost at the time that we started talking about it, it couldn't exist because the technology wasn't ready yet, but the film was, and the script was, and the actors were, and we jumped in with both feet and trusted in the masters that they would pull that off.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the technology? Because I think there are other films like Gemini Man using this technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
What's beautiful about what they did in The Irishman is the technology that they did really isn't so much about what's happening on screen. It's what it allows the actors to do. so they can do a lot of that digital work without the actors having to wear helmets and ping pong balls on their face, so they could just have a real performance and real interactions with each other.
No, I was blown away. I watched you this morning, just seeing the de-aging. I was like, what am
Yeah.
I looking at?
What it really, for me, what was a thrill was to watch it just melt behind the scenes. And really what comes out is the character study, the acting, the writing, how beautiful everything is composed. And it just falls away as into the background, which is really fantastic.
Absolutely. What about this ensemble? Like, what was it like working with everyone?
It's insane. It doesn't make, I mean, it does not get any better than this. And this is like a moment when it's almost a special effect in itself, seeing these guys together on screen. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us about your role in the movie.
Well, my role is playing opposite two of the greatest actors ever, Mr. Robert De Niro, Mr. Al Pacino. I'm real excited. I have not seen it yet. I've been invited to screenings, and I have a very nice part. I think I have about 5-6 scenes with two of the greatest actors, so it's exciting.
What was that experience like for you?
Well, for an actor to play with two of the best actors of all times, I got to play with the other guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Wolf. All of them, to work with these actors that are so professional, just brings your level up.
And what do you admire about Mr. Scorsese?
Greatest director of all times. End of story. There's Martin Scorsese, and then there's the rest of the directors. Okay, thank you.